Good morning. Can you imagine being love deaf or maybe just love challenged? Maybe you can. Our culture is love challenged all the way through, really. Sorry, let me just adjust this. And if you grew up like I did, then you might understand what I mean when I say love deaf. If you grew up in a family where love was not expressed, then you might not ever have really learned what love feels like, both in receiving love and in being loving, giving love. And that doesn't mean that you can't be caring and sensitive and a lovely person, because you can. I guess I'll tell you the little bit of a story in my own past. I was love deaf for most of my life, and it's actually just in the last few years, I'm not quite sure, that I've been developing this love practice that I do, and to help me access greater states of love. But my best friend used to tell me that she didn't believe that I didn't feel love, because that's what I would say. I can't feel it. I can't feel love. And she would say, I don't believe you, because you act in a very loving manner. You're very caring. You act with love. And at the same time, I still couldn't feel what love felt like. So that's why I developed this love practice. And it's very transformative, in fact. It's surprised me where it's going and what it's accomplishing. And at some point, I'm going to do a master class on that. But I wanted to... It just made me think about... I was thinking about the love practice. I was doing my love practice this morning. And I was thinking about the different levels that are involved. This is another thing that people don't talk about. I think a lot of us know on some level, subconsciously maybe, that there are different levels to all these things, but for the most part, we're really not conscious of it. For instance, love. I was doing my love practice for quite a while, and a woman that I was working with for my health, Jackie McMillan is her name, and she is brilliant, by the way. If you ever have gut dysbiosis or similar issues like that, she's fantastic. I credit her with saving my life. She was one of the pieces of healing that actually saved my life. You can look her up at thrivewithautism.ca, because that's her specialty. Anyway, she told me one day, as I was describing my love practice or something that was going on, she said, remember that there are levels of love. Each chakra, for instance, has its own love vibration and form of love. So putting that into terms of body, mind, heart, and spirit, we would, for instance, say that there's physical love, there's body love, which can be physical passion, biological desire. And it can also be that very physical, sort of animal-based, not in a negative way, in quite a wonderful way, peace and wonderful satisfaction that comes from cradling a sleeping child in your arms, for instance. That's a physical, a body level of love. I've written these down, so I'm going to check my sheet from time to time, because I didn't want to have to try to remember all of this. And then there's the mind level, or you could say the ego level of love, which is mostly need. And in our culture, current culture, we tend to say love when we mean need. Like romantic love is pretty much equal parts the body level, physical level love, and the mental level of need. I need the other person. I feel wonderful when they're around. I want to feel like this. They make me happy. All those kind of things. The heart level of love, taking it up another layer, is more of a caring for the other person than for yourself. It's a generous love. It's a giving love. And then to take it up to the highest level, it's unconditional love. At the spirit level, it's what I call it transpersonal love, because it's not really about the people anymore. And it's not, in my own experience, it's not in myself. It's coming through me, that from the field of love that is the source field, the fabric of the universe, the quantum matrix, whatever you want to call it, the mind of God. From that source field, which is love, the love comes through. And it's not about the people anymore. For instance, it's not about me, but it's also not about the person who's receiving it. Whether or not in my mental state I would judge them to be worthy of my love, or, you know, whether something they're doing is bothering me, or I wish they wouldn't do that, or whatever. It's not about that anymore. It's just love comes through and it goes everywhere. So that's been a very helpful process. But it reminded me of the other day, several videos back, where I was talking about sympathy and empathy and compassion. And I never really explained those. But this puts them in context because it's the same kind of thing. Let me see. The body level of that is actually more like, there's not really a word, I think, but like a fear of contagion. When we see someone suffering on the physical level and the subconscious level, we may wish to distance ourselves and not witness it, not be there for it, because it makes us uncomfortable. And there's this often less than conscious fear that in some way we may pick it up and become unhappy or ill or whatever it is that we're witnessing. So that's the physical level. And then sympathy is on the ego or mind level. It's where we're thinking about what it would be like, and we're realizing that it must be difficult for that person to go through that, and we feel sympathy. We recognize intellectually that it's hard and difficult and painful, and we, wish that they didn't have to go through something like that. So then you take it another level up, and it's at the heart level, it's empathy. And empathy is where we feel someone else's pain or any emotion within our own bodies. And there are different levels. There's the physical, let's say there are the mirror neurons in the brain, which literally cannot distinguish between what it witnesses and what it experiences. And those are the same neurons, I'm pretty sure, that can't tell the difference between what we think or imagine or remember and what we're actually experiencing now. So empathy, when we see a person hurting, we feel that in our own selves, and we feel their pain. And that brings us to a greater level of understanding and compassion, so to speak, for their pain. There's another level of empathy that's, we don't have a separate word for, but it's more of a, you might say psychic level of empathy, where we call it empathic. That's the slight difference that we have, where you don't even have to see the person or know what's going on or be in the same room with them, but you feel suddenly, say, sadness come over you or anxiety come over you from nowhere. You're just sitting there minding your own business. And then you feel this energy, this emotion come to you. And then you realize later that it's somebody else's. I've done this numerous times. I'll be sitting there working or something, and all of a sudden I'll feel something, and I'll call out to my spouse, are you feeling anxiety right now or something? And sure enough, that's where that's coming from. So, but we're not really talking about that kind of thing. I think that's actually just a deeper level of the same empathy. And then on the fourth level of this, the spiritual level, the empathy, we see somebody suffering, and instead of feeling it ourselves or of wanting to avoid feeling it ourselves, we can observe it as if almost through spirit's eyes, that this is a hard thing for this person, and we, care about that, and we may wish that we could do something about it. But it's not on a sentimental level where we need to fix them because then we will feel better. It's on a level where we can know that while they're going through this painful process, in some way, it's what they need to do. It's giving them the trust and respect that they are going to come through it, that they are getting whatever they really need from it. Looking at the higher purpose of it, essentially, and having faith in them and faith in the divine, that it's all as it's meant to be, that everything is perfect, just as it is. So we can feel for them, and we can care for them, and we can tend to them even, not in a rescuing sort of way, a sentimental way, but in an elevated spiritual way, and not get caught in it ourselves, not have that drag us back down to those lower levels. So I've run out of time now. It went really quickly. I wanted to explain that this happens there are levels of this in all kinds of things. Pride, pleasure, guilt, anger. You can look at all of those in different levels, and they're different at different levels. And for instance, just as an overview, well, you know what? We're into 14 minutes already. I think I will just leave this for now, and maybe this will have to come out in a course or an article or something that I'm doing. At any rate, we're going to call that a day, because I went way too much over. I hope you don't mind. But it's something that I think is really valuable to know, because otherwise it can be really confusing. So, yeah, just see if you can't bring a little bit of awareness into your day of what level of emotion you're feeling things on. And if you can't, raise it up a little bit. Imagine just feeling it? What if you brought that emotion up another level or another level or another level? And could be in the situation, whatever situation, from that greater perspective. So that's all I'm going to say. And I wish you a really wonderful and uplifted day. And I will see you again tomorrow. Talk to you then. Blessed be.